All right. Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for being here. I'm joined today by the best Attorney General in the United States, Attorney General Anthony Brown, Eric Churchwell, the Executive Director for Everytown Law, and our wonderful Police Commissioner here in Baltimore, Commissioner Richard Worley. As a city, together with our partners in the justice system, like the AG, advocacy groups like Everytown, law enforcement, community-based organizations working on the ground to make our neighborhoods safer, and most importantly, our residents, we've been able to achieve significant progress when it comes to public safety here in Baltimore. In 2023, we saw homicides drop by 20%, and we were able to build on that historic reduction last year, driving down homicides by an additional 23%, a new record drop, and decrease in non-fatal shootings by 34%. And so far this year, we've maintained that momentum. As of this morning, homicides are down 30% and non-fatal shootings are down 26% compared to this time last year. However, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Any one life lost to violence is one too many here in Baltimore or anywhere else. We must continue to approach public safety the right way. That means mobilizing every resource at our disposal to make our communities safer. Unfortunately, we have seen a proliferation of automatic sears or Glock switches in our communities. These attachments, primarily used on Glock weapons and ghost guns, are able to turn a basic firearm into an illegal automatic machine gun that can fire as fast or faster than military-grade firearms. This is a growing threat to safety. Those seeking to do harm in our communities are using these switches on easily modifiable Glock weapons to carry out criminal activity. And in fact, the number of switches recovered by BPD has increased exponentially over the past few years. Since BPD started tracking these numbers, the number of modified Glocks recovered by local law enforcement has gone up from 35 in 2023 to over 65 in 2024. These guns have been recovered in connection with offenses ranging from carjackings and narcotic distribution to other violent crimes. By failing to implement reasonable control to prevent illegal modification and prioritizing profits over safety, Glock has knowingly contributed to this rising issue and jeopardized the safety of our neighborhoods, our citizens, and our law enforcement officers. Similar to our successful legal action against Parliament 80 for the proliferation of ghost guns, we are filing suit against Glock for violating the Gun Industry Accountability Act. The city is seeking an injunction as well as an abatement, restitution, and a disgorgement of profits to halt the spread of easily modifiable handguns until Glock alters their design and help fund violence intervention programs to address the pain that the company has helped fuel. We are committed to pursuing all courses of action to halt the spread of Glock switches and uphold the safety of our communities. We will continue to be bold. We will continue to be resourceful because Baltimoreans and Marylanders deserve nothing less than leaders who are willing to go to bat for them. Thank you. And with that, I will turn it over to Attorney General Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good morning to everyone. Let me be clear. Glock knows, Glock profits, and Maryland pays the price. Today, we take a stand against a company that has put profits over lives for far too long. And thank you for joining us. I want to thank my civil litigation division in our office for handling this case on behalf of the state. I want to thank Everytown Law, Eric Churchwell and his team, the Baltimore City Police Department, Commissioner Worley, and your fantastic team on the streets in the community every day on behalf of the city of Baltimore. Of course, the Baltimore City Council and my good friend Mayor Scott, I want to thank you and your leadership in Baltimore City for the multi-front effort you're taking to fight and beat back the gun violence that is happening in our communities. I'm grateful for our shared commitment to tackling this public health crisis and making Marylanders feel safe in their streets again. The General Assembly gave us the tools to fight back against reckless corporate behavior, and today we use them. Last year, I told lawmakers that if they passed the Gun Industry Accountability Act, we would hold the firearm industry accountable. Today, we make good on that promise. This is our first lawsuit under this landmark law, allowing us to sue the firearms industry for its role in the gun violence epidemic. Since 1990, Glock has manufactured a pistol that can easily be converted into a machine gun. For just $20, Glock owners can buy an auto sear, a dime-sized device that turns a handgun into a weapon capable of firing 1,200 rounds per minute. That's faster than the weapons of war that I used in the Army. ATF agents call it spray and pray because once the trigger is pulled, there's no control, only carnage. Glock knows this. They've known this for years. They see their customers bragging online about Glock switches. They see their logo printed on illegal auto sears, and yet they do nothing. Glock could have designed its pistols to prevent auto sears from working. They chose not to. That choice cost lives. Instead of stopping the flow of these deadly weapons, Glock kept selling a pistol that, in 5 minutes, can be turned into a weapon of war. Each bullet fired in Baltimore streets leaves behind more than shell casings. It leaves shattered families, grieving parents, and communities in fear. Glocks are the weapons of choice for carjackings, drug deals, and violent crime. The use of guns kills 800 people in Maryland every year, and Black and brown communities bear the brunt of this devastation. And the faster a gun fires, the more people get caught in the crossfire. Glock isn't pulling the trigger, but they're arming those who do. And they've known it all too long. In this lawsuit, we're demanding, one, a court order banning Glock from selling and manufacturing these pistols in Maryland. Two, a court order forcing Glock to implement reasonable safety measures. And three, restitution to hold Glock accountable for its role in Maryland's gun violence crisis. For too long, Glock has prioritized profits over people, ignoring grieving families and devastated communities. And that ends today. And with that, I'll turn it over to Eric Tershwell, Executive Director and Chief Litigation Counsel with Everytown Law, for more on the facts of this case. Eric.
Thank you so much, Attorney General Brown and Mayor Scott. And before I jump into my comments, we had a short video we were going to queue up. If we could do that now, that would be great. And it really speaks for itself.
Just watch and listen. This is a handgun. This is that same handgun with a switch. "30 rounds in less than 2 seconds. The ATF allowed us to try. With the switch on, the kickback is noticeably stronger, while our accuracy dropped significantly.
These things fire faster than what the U.S. Army's carrying. That's how fast these switches are making these handguns. It's a real problem.
Great. Thank you very much for queuing that up. And let me say good morning to everybody. Again, my name is Eric Tershwell. I'm the Executive Director of Everytown Law. Everytown is proud to partner with the mayor, with the city solicitor, with the attorney general, with the police commissioner, as we take the fight to end the scourge of gun violence directly to a major player in the gun industry, the Austrian-owned gun manufacturer Glock. What I want to do is provide a little bit more detail and context on the legal claims that we have filed this morning. As you've heard, Glock designed its pistol in a way that leaves it uniquely susceptible to being converted to an illegal machine gun. By comparison, other major manufacturers' pistols like Smith & Wesson and Sig Sauer can't be converted in the same easy way. Now, Glocks are, of course, very common, including being the #1 gun recovered from criminals here in Baltimore and elsewhere across the country. And we've alleged in this lawsuit that that is in part because criminals are attracted to the ease of converting Glocks into machine guns. In fact, we've alleged Glock has used the internet and social media to promote the fully auto capabilities of its pistols. Glock knows that its weapons are increasingly being converted and misused to unleash mayhem in our cities and our streets. We've alleged Glock has falsely claimed that they can't fix this problem. But the truth, as our lawsuit lays out, and as we intend to prove, is that Glock can fix the problem. The fix wouldn't be complicated. We've described a number of ways Glock could modify its pistol design to prevent easy conversion. You can look at paragraph 73 in particular in the lawsuit that we filed this morning. But Glock has failed to make any change. And it is that failure to take the reasonable and easy step of modifying its pistols that is at the heart of the legal claims we filed today. It's pretty simple. Through its actions, Glock is facilitating the proliferation of illegal machine guns. And if Glock won't do the right thing and fulfill its legal obligations, we're going to hold them accountable in court. Now, some people will no doubt ask, why are you going after Glock? Why not go after the criminals who misuse the guns or the companies that make these illegal switches? The answer is that fighting gun violence is an all-of-the-above undertaking. Glock designed these weapons, Glock has promoted their full auto capabilities, and Glock has failed to address this rapidly growing public safety nightmare. So yes, we need to continue to hold people responsible for misusing guns, absolutely. And yes, we need to continue to hold people responsible for making and selling these illegal switches. But the root of this problem is Glock, and it will not be solved without Glock changing its conduct. I want to end by noting this is not the first case attempting to force Glock to do the right thing and the legally mandated thing. Almost a year ago, we joined with the city of Chicago to sue Glock over this issue. More recently, the attorney generals in New Jersey and Minnesota followed with their own lawsuits. With today's filing, the pressure on Glock continues to mount. And I am confident that unless and until Glock addresses this public safety problem head on, today's lawsuit will not be the last. So with that, let me turn it over to Commissioner Worley.
Good morning. Thank you, Mayor Scott, Attorney General Brown, and Everytown for Gun Safety for your continued commitment to reducing gun violence in our city. I'm here to speak about the growing harm and loss caused by these modified Glocks, something I've witnessed firsthand in Baltimore. These switches endanger our communities, have devastating consequences when used on the street. As Attorney General Brown stated, Glock switches allow pistols to fire up to 1,200 rounds per minute. In other words, our officers carrying standard Glocks or other handguns are outmatched by criminals armed with illegal Glock switches. One single trigger pull, as you just saw in this video, with a modified Glock puts countless innocent lives in jeopardy. These weapons make our streets more dangerous and makes policing even more challenging. In my 27 years, I've never seen so many rounds recovered and heard so many rounds fired on our devices, like ShotSpotter. We hear it, just the proliferation of rounds being fired at these scenes and the casings being recovered. I'll give you an example. In June of 2023, a suspect shot at BPD officers using a modified Glock. A total of 33 shell casings were found from the suspect's weapon. In addition, the suspect also wielded an assault rifle. Fortunately, none of our officers or bystanders were struck during the rapid gunfire when encountering the suspect. Modified Glocks make violent interactions with dangerous and potentially deadly criminals for our brave men and women and the communities we serve. BPD has seen a sharp rise in recoveries of modified Glocks, as Mayor Scott had mentioned in his opening statements. These recoveries have nearly doubled from 2023 to 2024. In that time frame, we recovered at least 100 Glock pistols illegally modified to fire fully automatically at crime scenes and during criminal investigations. What's more, over 70% of our arrested in incidents involving recovery of modified Glock by BPD were prohibited from owning a firearm. We must continue to use every tool available to get these weapons off the streets. The dangers of modified Glocks don't stop with the crime scene. They also pose serious challenges for our forensic laboratory. The growing number of these devices being submitted for analysis increasing processing times and adds to the backlogs. There's an increased hazard to staff, which requires additional time for training to appropriately identify potentially unsafe conditions caused by these devices so that it can conduct the analysis without injury. Crime scene investigations take longer, with our members recovering significantly more shell casings, impacting evidence collection, inventory, and maintenance costs. These illegal guns have no place in our neighborhoods. We must work together to keep them off our streets and out of the hands of criminals. I want to thank Mayor Scott, Attorney General Brown, and folks at Everytown Law and Motley Rice LLC for work you are doing to hold Glock accountable for direct harm their weapons are causing in our city. Together, we're working toward a safer Baltimore for all. Thank you. And at this time, I will turn it back to Mayor Scott.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Now we will turn it over to take questions. We just ask that if you can, we'll try to do that in some kind of order. We will take questions now. All right. I see first person with their hand up. You can go ahead. Just identify yourself and let us know where you're from.
I'm not sure if you can hear me. This is Martin Costi with NPR.
Yes, we can hear you, Martin.
Good morning. I'm wondering if the commissioner could give us a little more sort of sense of how the profile of victims is changing, if at all, because of the switches. What do you see at these scenes? Obviously, these guns are less accurate. What does that mean in terms of who's getting shot?
Thankfully, it doesn't look like that has occurred too often. But sometimes we don't know because we can't speak to the intended victims. Sometimes they end up deceased. But what it does, it puts everybody in danger because you have untrained gun handlers not only just firing one round, they're firing 20 and 30 rounds at a time. And with the extended clips, not only are they shooting 15 rounds that a normal Glock would hold, they could shoot 25, 30 rounds with these extended clips. So it puts everybody in danger. We haven't seen, thankfully, because our crime numbers have been down, we haven't seen too many unintended targets, but then you never know because criminals rarely tell us who they were intending to shoot at.
And Martin, I think it's important to add to the commissioner hinted at a little bit earlier that, here in Maryland, like we have laws and gun laws, but about half of the individuals that BPD have arrested in connection with modified Glock since 2023 were under the age of 21, including a child that's 13. So it's about the victims, but also about who's able to get their hands on these guns very easily. Anybody else? I don't see any other hands raised. If there are no other questions, we will let everyone get on about their day. Thank you again, Mr. Attorney General. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Mrs. Commissioner. I know she's watching. Thank you, Madam Solicitor. Thank you, everybody.
Mr. Mayor, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everyone.